Now we're going to go into question 2 under the header Support for Students and Their Families. Our first candidate to answer this question will be Sherry Leo. How will you support our Black and Brown students? What strategies do you have for building meaningful relationships with Black and Brown families, including METCO families? Two-parter. How should families trust you to make decisions that deeply impact our children? And how will you keep humanity at the center of those decisions?
Okay, this is a big one. These are excellent questions, and there are a lot, so I'll do my best. So first, I'll try to address them in order. How will I support Black and Brown students? So I want to ground us in the school committee's 3 duties. 1, to determine the district budget using allocations from the city. 2, to hire and evaluate the superintendent. And 3, to set policy for Melrose Public Schools. In all 3 of these areas, there are opportunities and responsibilities to support Black and Brown students. If I'm elected, I can ensure that we budget funds to address needs and attract strong, diverse talent to the district. I can assess superintendent candidates for their cultural competence and experience supporting every student across diverse populations. And I can review policies for disparate impacts to Black and Brown students and propose changes to those policies to create a more welcoming environment where every student can achieve their potential. Okay, to the second question, how will I build meaningful relationships with Black and Brown families, including METCO families? I'm committed to supporting every student, especially those who are most vulnerable. And supporting students' needs means first listening to understand. Per METCO, Melrose welcomes 109 students from the METCO program into our school community. That is a small enough number that members of the school committee can absolutely reach out to every single METCO family, and I'm committed to doing so. Building relationships starts with vulnerability and an honest effort to engage. I don't know everything, and there are many perspectives I can only learn from others. I will seek out these perspectives from Black and Brown students and their families. I will build trust by being clear about what is in scope and outside of it for school committee, and when I commit to an action, I'll report back on what I've done. So to your third question, how should families trust me to make decisions? I think trust must be earned. I think it's hard to build and easy to lose. I like to think that I've earned trust in my professional career from leaders, from educators, and from the communities we serve. It takes transparency, honest communication, and demonstrating over and over a commitment to the mission and the work. And then finally, you asked, how will I keep humanity at the center of those decisions? Every family wants their child to succeed, and every student does well when they can. These core beliefs guide all my work with schools and ensure I remain grounded in the real people who are impacted by every decision I make. Families need to know me and be able to reach me. I've spent this campaign introducing myself to community members and establishing channels of communication. I'll continue to make myself available and want to hear from students, families, and other stakeholders. If you're watching this at home or later on the recording, you can email me at sherryformelrose@gmail.com or call or text at 781-281-8123. Tell me where Melrose Public Schools can do better and what's going well.
Great. Thank you so much, Jen, for putting your information out there. I really appreciate it. And we are going to have Melissa's video come in now so she can answer that question.
In regards to supporting our Black and Brown students, I would like to say that any incident where a student feels unsafe, unsupported, or unwelcome because of who they are is unacceptable. We need those situations to be treated seriously. My goal is to ensure that Melrose is creating school environments where every student feels accepted, valued, and supported. Unfortunately, we know that incidents of racial discrimination, bullying, and other forms of harassment occur. When these incidents happen, our responses must be clear, consistent, and effective. Teachers and administrators need to be equipped with the tools and strategies to address these incidents, and this requires ongoing training and professional development. We can build a culture of inclusion and belonging to be proactive and not just reactive. Ways to do this include updating and evaluating our curriculum to reflect diverse histories and perspectives, celebrating cultural events from all communities, and creating space for school assemblies and classroom discussions that promote empathy and inclusion and are built upon year after year. For example, last year, Roosevelt welcomed We the People as a learning series for our youngest students and the ABCs of Racism for parents and caregivers. By offering both of these learning opportunities, we can spark meaningful conversations for our students both at home and at school. But we do need to ensure these programs are followed up throughout the years and offered to all students, not just one school in particular. Um, for building meaningful relationships with Black and Brown families and METCO families, personally, as a community member, I believe that relationships begin with genuine connection. I introduce myself, I listen, and I follow through. This is how I've built my relationships and trust during my career and working with students and in my volunteer roles. It's also how I'll approach my relationships with Black and Brown families living here in Melrose and those in the METCO program, as well as other groups like multi-language learners and students with special needs. I recognize that my experience as a white woman will be different than the experiences of our parents and students of color. I'm committed to stepping outside of my own perspectives and so that I can understand other perspectives. My background in social work and student services, where those students come from different cultures and backgrounds, has taught me how to navigate complex situations and make decisions that reflect a range of voices. I will remain committed to being present, accessible, and engaged with our Melrose community. And and for families trusting me, I believe that trust is built through honesty, empathy, and consistency. Leading with humanity means listening to the experience of others, asking thoughtful questions, and being transparent about what I know and what I'm still learning. I won't always have the perfect answer, but I will be honest about what information I have and how decisions are being made. I will follow through when I don't have an answer, or I will direct you to the correct person to speak with. I want to ensure that families have access to resources and next steps, even when solutions aren't immediate. I'm willing to approach situations with humility and care and will take time to reflect on my own biases. Racial justice work is ongoing, and I'm committed to learning and growing alongside the community. I believe in the simple and powerful principle that we treat others the way we want to be treated. When we lead with empathy and respect, we can create an environment that allows everyone to feel that they belong and are being heard.
And next up, we will hear from Jen.
Thank you so much. So one of the few things that we've done over the last 8 years on the school committee is we've approved some changes in policy that hopefully will have a deep and positive impact on students who are Black and Brown. One of the things that we've done is unlevel the classes in the 9th grade in the high school. And the hope for that is that we have to acknowledge every single day if we're doing anti-racist work that racism is baked into our culture and into our history. So if racism has been baked into our culture and into our history, then we have to be constantly looking at our systems to see what barriers are there for kids who may be treated differently. And that may not be intentionally by educators, but we all have biases because of the cultures that we've been raised in. So one of the things that we did was unlevel the classes in the 9th grade. And that was to basically say, like, anyone coming to our high school is not going to be tracked. They're going to be given every opportunity that they can to succeed. So they can get into AP classes, they can get into the regular, any class in high school is going to kind of start out at the same way, with the exception of math. If you've had accelerated math in the middle school, then you can access that in 9th grade. So I think that's just one example of how policy and decisions can hopefully make a positive impact. We don't want to track students because we don't want to have low expectations for certain students. We want to have high expectations for all students. And unfortunately, I think sometimes Black and brown students are treated as if they can't when they can, just like anyone else. So we also need to use good pedagogy, like culturally responsive teaching in the brain, which is written by Zaretta Hammond, which I know the district uses here in Melrose, and my district in Salem uses as well. And that basically helps teachers to become better and educators better at teaching all different types of kids. It doesn't matter what culture you come from, you can reach any student if you use good methods and if you have a culturally responsive classroom. And that means meeting students where they're at, being curious about their culture, and being very humble to seek to understand where they're coming from. And then to embrace where they've come from and celebrate all different cultures in the classroom. So building meaningful relationships with families, including METCO families, I think showing up is the most important thing. So whenever we have a joined activity, whether it's in Boston or whether it's in Melrose, we should do our best to get there, to be there, to just talk with people, to say that, you know, you're a human being, being a human being with other human beings. You're not a school committee member up here away from people, you're with people. And that's also, you know, my knowledge as a social worker. You sit with people, you get to know them, they get to know you, and that's how you build trust. One last thing is every school committee meeting opens with us saying the Pledge of Allegiance, which always felt to me for the first few years like, am I back in elementary school again? And then I just really thought of the last line, which is with liberty and justice for all. And that's what we should be doing every single time we're sitting in that horseshoe at school committee meetings, thinking about every single student, every single family, and what do we need to lift everyone up. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all of those answers, and Jen, leaving that on a high note with the liberty and justice.